Okay. Thank you again for inviting me, and I apologize again. I will speak very fast to catch up for the lost time. No. So as you know, just to repeat, we have the different census types are the traditional census when data are collected by enumerators in the field. It's a combined census when data from registers are combined with data collected in a traditional way, and then this is the census based on data from registers only, no fieldwork. And why do we want this also fast? Because you are fully aware. I think the most reason is to save costs and to release census statistics faster than you can do if you collect the data in the field when you have to check, enter data and check and everything. There's a good reason to use administrative data already collected, and the resources can be better spent on improving existing data than on collecting new data. The total population is covered with many variables, unlike sample surveys, when only a sample of the population is collected. We can also publish census statistics much more frequently than a census, which is usually conducted every 10 years. We'll also reduce the response burdening people by asking them lots of questions that is time-consuming and sometimes complicated. And unlike samples, there are no sampling errors. So in the 2020 rounds, this is a map from the UN Statistics Division. They have published this, but it is not correct because you see the Nordic countries up in the north, and Norway is the lion sort of to the left there, then the Sweden, Finland, Iceland, and Denmark. Turkey did not have a fully register-based census. And also I doubt that Spain has it. Ireland I'm not sure about, but I know that Oman and Bahrain, they had register-based censuses. We can also see that Korea has a dark purple, but also they did not have a fully register-based census, but a combined census. So, but Netherlands and Belgium and Austria and Slovenia had full register-based censuses. The three Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, also did not have full register-based census, but combined. Now, the existence for register-based census are several. I think the most important is to have a good, reliable population register that is covering the total population. Why is that? Because originally the primary purpose of conducting a census for a country was to be able to publish statistics about the population size, how many people live in the country, where do they live, in which areas, and what is the age distribution and sex distribution, etc. What is the educational attainment? So we definitely need to know the population, where they are, where they live, and how old they are, etc. We also we need a population register that is updated regularly so that all new births are included, that deaths are excluded, and migrations are also be included to be able to produce data for statistics for small areas. And the most important source for births and deaths is the civil registration system, whereas migrations are not included in civil registration, neither external migration nor internal migration. So that is a big challenge that Uruguay has made some very interesting, presenting very interesting solutions to solving. We also, to conduct a fully register-based census, we also need other registers, say on educational attainment, on labor force participation, to produce what are considered the basic census tables. We need to link registers, different registers, and then there must be a system for linking. And the simplest way of doing that is to have a unique ID number which is used in all registers. This is the case in the Nordic countries. Finally, there needs to be access to the registers for statistical purposes. There has to be legally it must be approved and within the law, and there must also be practical solutions, including good institutional cooperation, computer IT. Solutions, protection of confidentiality, transfer of data securely, etc. It happens in some countries, I don't know whether it's a case in Latin America, that some administrative register owners are reluctant to share the data. They say that it's because for confidentiality reasons, to protect confidentiality of the persons. But I think that often it is to protect their own power, because data are often considered to be important. The administrative registers can be are of two types. The first type is called base registers, which is basic information on the stock of the entire set of units that are being counted in a census. And I said population is the most important, where the essential variables are place of living, demography, including date of birth and place of birth and sex, and migration, that is address, and family composition and households. Then you need a register of addresses, buildings, and dwellings, often called a cadastre. And businesses is also one of the considered a base register. But in addition to these base registers, you need information about other variables, including educational attainment. So that is, we call an educational register, which in Norway includes both educational attainment and educational activity. So it includes everybody going to school or university, and they are all registered by their ID number. And actually all completed exams and ongoing education are included, including the grades they are getting at the exams. Then we need to have a labor market register or a register information about labor force participation, whether people are employed or unemployed, what their occupation is, part-time or full-time, etc. Education I already mentioned. National insurance is very important in Norway, and the National Insurance Institution has a register on all kinds of transfers they provide to people. That includes old age pensions, sickness pensions, unemployment, and other transfers to people. We also have an income and wealth register where the data is collected from tax forms. The Norwegian census is, to give you a very brief history. The first was conducted in 1769, and in 1960 we conducted the last fully traditional census. That means going out with field workers collecting the information. from all households. In 1964, a central population register was established based on the 1960 census. At the same time, a unique ID numbers were introduced and assigned to everybody who participated in the 1960 census, and later to all new births and to all new immigrations. The next census in 1970 was mainly traditional, and it was used to check and update the central population register, for example, on marital status. And the analysis showed that there were many errors in the data on marital status and year of marriage collected in 1964. And that was the last census with enumerators. The following about 3 censuses sent out pre-printed questionnaires to all households with name and date and birth or date of birth for everybody living on the address, and sent by mail. And in 1980, all demographic variables were collected from the central population register. Let's see. Sorry. In 1990, there were census questions still on to be completed on the questionnaire on labor, households, and housing, but only a sample was enumerated to save money. But this was no success and is not recommended. In 2001, all data on persons were taken from registers, but the questionnaire was sent to all households to collect data primarily on household number, on the dwelling number. In the 1 or 2 years before the census, everybody had received information about, and a small sticker to put on the inside of the door with the dwelling number, so that we have unique dwelling numbers for all houses, and that these were linked to the persons. That was the main purpose of the 2001 census. So after the census, every person in the central population register had a unique dwelling address. The next census in 2011 was fully based on administrative data. There were no forms sent out at all. What about the future, the later censuses? Well, I will come to that, but say more about that. But the 2011 census was the last census based on questionnaires. Let's see. I have some problems removing it. Okay. There has been a gradual development of censuses based on administrative data, as you can see, and where the subject matter statistics were tested and published annually, for example, especially on population size, population by age and sex, and place of living. And as time went on, the administrative data were introduced when the quality was considered to be sufficiently good. The census is now an integrated part of a register-based statistical system. This was the data system in 2001, where you see that at the top you have administrative registers on unemployed persons, social security, income, education, plus several other registers. And the dotted line shows the data coming from questionnaires on dwelling information. And the data collection was then that everything on persons came from the registers, on families and households came from forms, and on housing and dwellings also from census forms. Remember that in Norway, I think most other countries, it's not called the population houses, but the population and housing census. So information about the housing, quality of house, number of floors and rooms and size, type of ceiling, type of heating, etc., are important information collected in the census, used to evaluate, assess the living standards, or housing standards. The organization of the 2001 census was done in a separate unit, by a separate unit in Statistics Norway, and the total costs was almost 15 million euro, with 15 permanent people working on this, and between 35 and 40 employed for the data collection. As I said, the dwelling address project was used to collect, assign a dwelling number to every dwelling, and the census was used to collect this data. The main purpose was dwelling buildings in cities where they're on one address, and in one building there are often many dwellings, and all those people living on the same address are obviously not living in the same households. So this was a collaborative effort with participants from Statistics Norway, the tax authorities, which holds the Central Population Register, and the Norwegian Mapping Authority, which is in charge of the cadastre. After the census, 55% of the persons living in multi-dwelling houses were linked to a unique dwelling address, but that was not good enough. So this was followed up by further work and production of quality indicators, and the goal of 95% coverage was reached in 2011. Rural areas was also a problem for dwelling addresses, because initially there were no street addresses in rural areas, but this has been introduced now. I will go on. The next census, as I said, 2011, was totally registered based, and it complied with EU regulations. And this shows the registers that were used, registers on unemployed persons, social security, income, education, and data also from two other base registers, the business register and the address and the register on addresses, buildings, and dwellings. And you see the P's, mostly P stands for personal ID number. So all these registers with data on persons use the personal ID number. Then in addition, businesses also have their own a special ID number system, and there are numerical addresses for all dwellings. Again, as I said before, two base registers were used, three register-based population and cadastre and business, and the supplementary registers that were used were on labor market, education, national insurance, and income. When we talk about quality of the statistics based coming from administrative registers, there are two issues. The first is the input quality, the quality of the registers, and they may there are often errors in administrative registers. So I would say that there are always errors. No register is perfect. There can be missing data, duplicates, punching errors, etc. The age can be widely wrong. Quality, country or place of birth can be wrong. But it's also another issue is the quality of the output, or the quality of statistics that is produced. And that, of course, depends on the work of the statistical office. And Statistics Norway has done a lot to improve quality and assess the quality. There has been a step-by-step development over a long period. As I said, the register was established in 1964, and only in 2011 did we have a fully register-based census. That means it took 47 years. But it's not necessary to take that it takes so long. So a country that is planning well and has learned from the experience of Norway and other countries can do it much faster. And in fact, Bahrain and Oman has done it much faster. For assessing the quality, it's important to compare with data from recent censuses and with data from sample surveys, and to see that the data are internally consistent. But it's important that the subject matter statisticians evaluate also the quality and compare with sample surveys and other censuses. Moreover, Statistics Norway has established several statistical registers where the data are usually better than the quality of the corresponding administrative register, for example, the population register, whereas we can impute or otherwise estimate a variable that is not available in the administrative register, since the administrative registers are basically legal registers and not the statistical register. Some of the main challenges we had when we established the register-based census over time was that first that there were no data on education, so Statistics Norway had to establish a register on education, both, as I said, both on completed and ongoing education. A special problem was that education taken abroad, we didn't have any information on that. Say for myself, I have checked, I have some education from United States, which is not included in any Norwegian register. But surveys have been conducted to get some, to collect idea on that, but not for the total population, but to get, to learn something. Especially of immigrant population, because, and that is, can be handled because immigrants are not that, it's not such a large population, so it's important to collect information on the education they completed before they left their country for Norway. We also have registers on labor market data, which combines data from several registers, but it took a long time and was very demanding to create the system. And data on households and housing are already referred to, and we had to establish a population register due to multi-housing dwellings, and also due to the new system that developed in the 1970s and 80s in Norway, where many couples did not marry, but they lived together without being married. And of course, or we call cohabitation without marriage, or consensual unions. And of course, the register did not have any information on that. In Statistics now we have a copy of the administrative population register, and it was established in 1999, whereas the administrative population register is owned by the the Department of Taxes, Directorate of Taxes. But the quality is they are very comparable. But statisticians in Statistics Norway have, for example, been able to impute data such as country of birth for people who came to Norway before the 1960 census, and other variables. So the statistical population register is updated every day with new data, data on new events, that is birth, deaths, migrations internally and externally, name changes, etc., are received from the central population register every day. In 2001, there were between 20 and 15 people working permanently on organizing and conducting the census, and the total costs was 3.2 euros per person. In 2011, the staff consists of 2 or 3 persons, and the costs were a tenth of the previous cost, a third of a euro, or 0.3 euro per person. So the changes were, the savings were tremendous. If you compare the totals, the savings were at least 13 million euros. However, all data cannot be obtained from registers. They have recently established administrative registers may not have such a good quality at the beginning, so it takes time for the owner of the administrative register to develop, to improve the quality for all variables to cover the total population. So it takes time before for Statistics Norway can fully utilize the data. There are also variables that are important for statistical reasons, but are not important for administrative purposes. For example, duration of employment. And as I mentioned, data on the situation before the register was established in 1964 are poorly covered, so may have to be imputed if possible, and then events abroad. And also I would say that relatives of people living abroad, in the population register in Norway, we have information about the parents of every person in the register, but through that also on siblings, and actually also on cousins and grandparents. But for people born in another country, that information is often missing. Then there are finally some data, some variables that are not relevant for administrative registration or impossible or difficult to obtain. Emotional relationships such as cohabitation and housekeeping. As you may know, there are 2 definitions on housekeeping in statistics. One is the sharing of dwellings, of meals, that most meals are eaten together. That is the definition of a housekeeping unit, whereas the other unit is living together or sleeping in the same dwelling. And we have only data on the latter from administrative registers. Finally, there is the issue of modal transportation to work, which Statistics Norway has collected in censuses for over many years, since that is where the people are walking, riding bicycle, riding a car, taking public transportation, train or bus, etc. And this is important for planning of public transportation, roads, subways, trains, etc. And this we don't have any data on now administratively, but it's possible, of course, that in the future, through the use of cell phone data, etc., ticket system, etc., ticket systems, we can also collect data on that. But whether the system will discover whether I'm walking or riding my bicycle to work, I'm not sure about. Possibly. In the future censuses in Norway will be based on a combination of microdata from administrative registers, and the census will be fully integrated with annual statistics. And no specific census statistics will be published. For example, we publish data on the population by age and sex and municipality, not only annually, but 4 times a year. Previously, for 1960 and before, these data could only be published once every 10 years, but now 4 times a year. So this same for other reasons, for other like completed education and labor force participation, etc. Number of immigrants and many variables. These data, statistics on such variables are published annually or more frequently. So there are no specific census statistics are published. In fact, the young statisticians in Statistics Norway they hardly know what the census is. But internationally, there will be censuses will be planned and conducted for many years to come, and Norway will participate and in the census planning and produce statistics according to international recommendations. And that is where the census statistics, including for Norway, will be published. So when United Nations Statistics Division and the Eurostat they ask for tables on census variables, census statistics, Norway can provide that. Now, summary. Here you see Oslo in winter, but it's now summer, as you know. As I said, that Statistics Norway has a long history of using administrative data and statistics, and the breakthrough came in 1964 when the unique ID number was published and was introduced, and central population register was established. Since 1970, the censuses have gradually used more administrative data, and since 2011, all census statistics are fully based on administrative registers. We now have a statistical system based on administrative data, and the census has lost its importance. Finally, we receive requests from many countries and organizations to share our experiences, including from Iran, Vietnam, Uruguay, and Chile. To conclude, register-based census require good registers that can be linked. But the second point here, I think that developing a register-based statistical system is more important than developing, planning a register-based census, because that is a sort of one shot every 10 years or so. But if you develop the statistical system, you can benefit from that every year or more often. So they should go hand in hand. I don't think it's advisable to spend all the resources developing the register-based census and not improving the statistical system so that it can be based on administrative registers. Finally, an important lesson is that statistical use may improve the quality of administrative registers, as the statistical office will report back to the register owner about issues they found, problems and inconsistencies and other issues they find, so that the administrative owner can do something, look at the matter and improve the statistics. Thank you. I will welcome, this is my presentation. I welcome questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helge. It was an excellent presentation. It was so clear. Yes, we are open to for questions from the participants. If someone has a question, can written down into the chat or just raise your hand and we can open the mic for questions. I have a question for you, Helge. You mentioned it that the CPR, the Central Population Register, is held, is owned by the tax authority, and they send to the Statistics Norway updates on daily basis, and so I think you don't have to use this sign of life methodology to keep the population register updated. I think that methodology is used by the tax authority to keep it updated, mainly for immigrants, which is very difficult to know who emigrate to other country from register. That is my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Federico. Well, first I would like to say that the Central Population Register was in fact established by Statistics Norway, which was then the owner also of an administrative register in 1964, but this was changed in the 90s since it was not considered appropriate. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, very good. Now, as you said, it's Sinolive is method is actually used by Statistics Norway to help the population register to identify people who don't live in Norway anymore, because the greatest weakness of the population register is that people who emigrate, who leave Norway for another country without reporting this. So many emigrations are not registered at all. Some are picked up much later. For example, when Statistics Norway did the survey of immigrants, they found many of the envelopes that were sent out were returned, and without saying address and coni or have moved. So this was an indication that that these people did not live in Norway anymore, and information about this was sent to the tax register. Also, Statistics Norway has used another method to find out the number of people who probably don't live in Norway by looking at data on income and fortune and wealth. And people who haven't had any income for 5 years, say, are then considered to are probably not living in Norway anymore. Also, if they don't have any bank account or any property, they're probably not. And as I know that you in Uruguay are using the same method, but for 1 year, those who have not had contact with the authorities for 1 year are considered not active anymore. But I've also said that may be too short a period. So the sign of life method is important. Now, a tricky issue is, of course, whether Statistics Norway then should tell the tax authority about the ID number of those people who are not probably don't live here anymore. So that's another issue, which I will not go into right now. Thank you.
So sorry. So you cannot you don't share the ID number with the tax authority of those people.
We do when we find problems with one register, say the population register, we do that. But that some countries consider that a violation of the fundamental principle of official statistics adopted by the United Nations Statistics Commission, that statistics or data collected for statistical purposes should not be distributed to other parties. But we think that this is our lawyers say that this is a complaint about the quality of data, and if you have received something that has inferior quality, you should be able to complain about the quality, and that by naming actually the ID numbers. But this is a topic that is discussed quite a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We have a question here in the chat from Hazley. For the case, let me translate it. The case of taking administrative register for businesses, what is the frequency that you recommend that the update must be conducted to make the calculation of the indicator? I think it is too general, this question. Maybe Hazley can explain a little bit more.
Sorry, I did not hear the frequency that we.
Okay, yeah. I don't know, Hazley, if you want to. Hazley, si quieres explicar un poco más, porque yo no entiendo la pregunta.
Hola, buenos días.
Buenos días.
Hola, ¿me escuchan?
Sí.
Bueno, mi pregunta es porque nosotros queremos hacer el cálculo de los indicadores para la dinámica poblacional de las empresas basada en los registros administrativos. Entonces, sabemos que aquí están hablando para los censos poblacionales.
Sí.
Pero hemos investigado que también podemos tomar los registros administrativos para la dinámica poblacional de las empresas. Entonces, a ver si el profesor nos podría indicar con qué frecuencia nos recomienda que se pueda actualizar esos datos. Aquí hay un ente, como él lo explica, que recopila la información de las empresas y ellas cada cierto tiempo actualizan su información. Pero
para la demografía de empresas.
De empresas, sí.
Ok. Sí, no sé si será su área, yo le transmito la pregunta y vemos.
Ok, muchas gracias, muchas gracias.
Okay. Yeah, Helge, Hazley is asking about business statistics. I think it is not your area, but maybe you know a little bit about that. You can answer her question. She's interested in knowing about how to calculate indicators on businesses demography. And if you know about the frequency of the updates of these administrative registers to calculate this kind of indicators on businesses demography. I know maybe it's not your area, but maybe you know about that.
About distances,
businesses, no, companies, enterprises,
companies.
businesses.
Okay.
Yes.
I think they are. You are right, Frederick. It's not my field, but I think these are updated regularly on a daily basis. But then it depends on how often do you make statistics based on that. Now, usually Statistics Norway makes statistics once a year on such on businesses, and then there is a cut-off date, often 1st of February in the following year, to produce statistics on the preceding year. So I think, but it's possible. I think also the unemployment data are produced more frequently. I think 4 times a year, based on administrative registers.
Okay. Thank you. We have the hand from Rodrigo Silva. Open. Rodrigo, adelante. ¿Tienes una pregunta? Estás con el micrófono apagado. Tal vez tiene algún problema. Bueno, no sé, Susana.
¿Me escucha?
Hi. Sí, adelante.
Oh, okay. Here's Susana from Brazil. I used to work at the IBGE, but not in production. But I would like first to thank very much Helg for such an inspiring case and to show us that not everything is a sea of roses, and that is so good. So my question goes in that direction. I'm sure you have risk matrices about how things can go wrong with some register. So could you share with us any examples or kind of matrix, risk matrix that you have made in case of some register are not available for some time for different reasons, or the quality is not so good? So what do you do when you have a full basic registered census? If some of those registers fail, how you're going to provide yearly or even 5 years census data or census statistics for in that case? So if you could share about a little bit more about the those problems, would be very nice.
Thank you, Susanna. Do you mean, well, we have 2 issues. One is that data on individuals are wrong or missing. Is that what you mean, or you mean the whole register is?
I mean the whole register can go wrong for some reason. You not have access for some reason to that register, to that administrative records.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I thought. But that has not happened, as far as I know, in Norway, that the whole register is unavailable. There's in Norway we put a lot of emphasis on collaboration between the different registers owners and Statistics Norway. There are meetings at least twice a year where the register owners present and discuss changes, and well, there's a lot of dialogue, and it's a very it's not an authoritarian or hierarchical system. But I cannot, thank you, but I cannot think of any cases where a whole register has has more or less been delayed or collapsed or something. I think about it. It's an interesting question. On the other hand, we have had new registers being introduced that then are gradually used for statistical purposes. Some are in the health sector. For example, we have registers on certain diseases, say on cancer, and during the COVID epidemic, all cases of COVID and all vaccinations were registered centrally and were then used to make statistics and to do research. We have a register of all medical prescriptions so that everybody who gets the prescriptions are uploaded to a central register, and when I go to a pharmacy to buy a medication, they will just show my ID and they download and they look up and see what medication I am allowed to buy. So that is also used then for statistical reasons, in addition to administrative reasons. But again, thank you for the interesting question. I will ask colleagues whether there are some registers that are sort of become unavailable for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you. I was thinking more of other countries that maybe it's not so stable as you have, but the way that's very important, this collaboration that you have with the register owners. And I'm not sure if in our countries we would have that such a stable situation. So that's my point. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. For example, I've done a lot of work on Bosnia and Herzegovina, which was in a war from 1992 to 1995. And during part of that period, the registration system did not function very well, partly because people couldn't register their births and deaths, and also because buildings were destroyed. So it's an important issue. So I guess in an unstable country, you need some backup solutions or something to be able to handle such situations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me ask Rodrigo, no sé si levantaste la mano para formular una pregunta o estás con el micrófono apagado, no te escuchamos. Bien. Let me see. I have other question on dwelling number. You know, the addresses is a headache. I mean, the lack of addresses, mainly here in Latin America, we have a lot of problems with the addresses and the number of the dwellings. You know, and you explained that. I think during the 2001 census, you used the census data to build the dwelling register, and you mentioned it that the numerators use some kind of sticker to put into the front door of the dwelling with the dwelling number. Can you explain more about that? How was that procedure, and how do you assign the numbers of the dwellings and the apartments and the things? Thank you.
Thank you. This was a fascinating project, whereas I think all heads of households, well, I'm not quite sure whether everybody who got small stickers. And I think first we got the form where we should fill in. And later I got a sticker for me saying the number of the floor and which entrance to the building my apartment was in. And this then happened so actually, first people were asked, how many dwellings are there in the house you are living in? And then later you were sent stickers that you are supposed to put on the inside of the door sill. And when then people got the questionnaires by mail, and then they entered the dwelling number next to their names. So that the link was established between a person and a dwelling number. So you have unique dwelling numbers. This is very important to be established to be able to produce household statistics.
Very interesting. Yeah.
So I don't know if you need addresses to do that. I think I think an address is an automatic electronic address system is also, of course, necessary for that, because you not only need the dwelling number, but you also need a street address.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Interesting. But other interesting thing is that you share the census data with, I mean, for that to other institutions for administrative purposes to build this dwelling register. Or it's just used by Statistics Norway.
That's a very good point, Federico. I think that it was shared. I think the dwelling data were not collected by Statistics Norway. No, they were collected in the census. They were collected by Statistics Norway. You're right about that. But later, the data were shared with the tax authorities' population register, and I think there was a special law permitting that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me see. I think I missed a question I was searching on the chat. Here. You can, Helge, you can read it. It is in English in the chat.
I saw it on the screen for a short while. Then it disappeared. Let me see if I can.
I can read it for you.
Okay.
From Matthias Jara. My question is related to the context of an initial phase in the statistical office effort to utilize administrative records for statistical purposes. Currently, we are working towards establishing a population register, which aims to integrate the databases of the national statistical systems, such as civil registration, vital statistics, and others. Therefore, my inquiry is about the transition, documentation, legally law, or mechanisms for transferring or exchanging databases between the institutions of the National Statistical System for the Statistical Office. How did you achieve this? I would appreciate if you could recommend any documents that describe your case, especially during the initial stages, and how it is done now.
I could now see the question.
Okay.
Interesting question. For Norway, this was very easy because when this was introduced in 1964, Statistics Norway was in charge of the whole thing. So it was in charge of the vital registration, both vital registration and statistics. So it was all under one roof. So there were no problems. But today, the data are transferred from the administrative population register to Statistics Norway on a very regular basis, and then integrated and then uploaded to our statistical register. And then comparisons and checks are made to see that the data are correct, but very few errors are found, very few inconsistencies. Whether we have any Yeah, I will check whether we have any documents on that. I think there are some. Sweden has written documents on this, and I will see if you can send the question to me by email. I will see.
Yes.
It was Denise. If you can send the question, I will ask colleagues if we have anything in writing.
Yes, sure. I cannot see any other question on the chat. Maybe I missed someone. But I think that there are no more questions. I want to thank you very much, Helge, for your time, for sharing your knowledge, your experience. It is very valuable for us, for our colleagues here in Latin America. And we really appreciate your time and your presentation. And thank you very much.
And thank you for listening. It was a pleasure. And again, I apologize for the confusion
No
at the
problem.
beginning. Sorry, I think we should due to that. I have too many monitors.
Yeah,
I think
no
it's a
problem.
problem.
It was perfect, excellent presentation, and thank you very much. And gracias a todos los colegas participantes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Bye.
very much. Thank you.